Chosen one, lock your attention on my voice right now. That urge to scroll past this message must be ignored. The enemy has been working overtime for one reason and one reason only. He knows what shifts the moment you receive these words. You did not find this by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here, but the Holy Spirit did. This is a divine appointment. In the next few minutes, I am going to reveal the exact reason heaven allowed this profound season of isolation. I will expose the specific lie that has been keeping you drained and trapped. And at the very end of this message, I will give you the declaration that seals everything. Do not click away. If you leave before the end, you will walk away before the verdict is handed down. I know exactly what the last few weeks have felt like for you. You have been waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning with a heavy weight on your chest. And when you try to explain it, the words just do not make sense to anyone else. The atmosphere in your home has felt incredibly strange lately. It feels thick and heavy and completely unfamiliar. You walk into a room and the conversations suddenly stop. You feel like a complete stranger inside your own life. You notice how people look at you differently now. The distance between you and them keeps growing. You are not going crazy and you are not imagining things. What you are sensing in the spirit is entirely real, and I am confirming it for you right now. Let us talk about the exhaustion you carry every single day. You feel tired, your shoulders are tight, the weight is real, and every morning when you wake up, the heaviness is already sitting on your chest before you even open your eyes. You push through. You smile for them. But inside your private world, you are barely holding on to the last thread of your strength. You have been doing the right thing in total darkness. You kept your faith steady when absolutely no one believed in your vision. People called you foolish. They whispered behind your back and questioned your choices. And yet you stood your ground while your heart was breaking. You proved to heaven that your silent loyalty would remain firm through all of this pain. But the isolation has started to play tricks on your mind. You sit alone in the quiet hours of the night, wondering if you made a terrible mistake. You look at others moving forward rapidly. Meanwhile, your own life feels completely stalled. The silence from heaven has been deafening. You cry out for a sign, but all you hear is your own voice. This is the exact lie the enemy wants you to swallow whole. He wants you to believe that your current isolation is a form of bitter punishment. He needs you to think that God has forgotten your address and left you behind. Because if he can break your mind in the wilderness, he can stop you from claiming the territory you were born to conquer. Think about the people you loved who simply walked away. They did not just leave you, but they completely misunderstood your entire heart in the process. You gave them your absolute best. You poured water into their empty cups for years until your own soul ran completely dry. And when you finally needed someone to hold you up, the room was empty. That emptiness is a very specific type of agony. It makes you question your own value and your sanity. You silence your voice to keep the peace in rooms where you do not even belong anymore. But the discomfort inside you only grows louder every day. The faith you kept when no one watched is the exact weapon heaven is activating right now. The breakthrough you have been begging for is hiding in these next few minutes. But you must understand exactly what is happening to your spirit right now. Before you go any further, gently press the like button so this validation can reach someone else who is keeping faith in the dark tonight. Stay with me as we uncover the truth together, because your assignment depends on this. Let us talk about the whispers you hear when you leave the room. You know exactly what they are saying about you. They call you radical. They think you have lost your mind. And the hardest part is that these are not strangers judging you. These are the people you once trusted with your whole heart, the ones who were supposed to stand by your side. You have spent so much energy trying to explain your choices. You wanted them to see the vision heaven placed inside your spirit. But every time you speak, your words just bounce off their hardened hearts. You try again. You change your approach, but they look at you with pity instead of understanding. The exhaustion of defending your calling is draining your life force completely. Following the voice of God is not a glamorous journey. It is a lonely road filled with private tears and public misunderstanding. You make sacrifices that no one else can see or appreciate. You say no to opportunities that look good to the world but feel entirely wrong to your spirit. And for your obedience, you receive nothing but criticism from those who settle for less. There are days when you just want to give in. You look at how easy normal people have it. They blend in perfectly. They do not carry this heavy mantle of purpose that keeps you awake at night. The temptation to just drop your standards and join the crowd is incredibly strong. You wonder if being chosen is actually a blessing or a heavy burden you cannot carry. You smile and nod when you are in public. You put on the armor so they do not see how badly you are bleeding. But the moment you close your bedroom door, the armor falls apart. You fall to your knees. You weep until there are no tears left to cry. The sheer weight of carrying a sacred assignment in a secular world is crushing your chest right now. The gossip has taken a massive toll on your mental peace. They dissect your life without knowing the battles you fight in the spirit. They judge the season of waiting you are in, calling it a failure instead of recognizing it as preparation. It hurts deeply because you never intended to make anyone uncomfortable. You just wanted to be faithful to the call. Sometimes their words make you question your own sanity. You look in the mirror and wonder if you really are the problem. If everyone else thinks you are wrong, maybe they are actually right. This toxic doubt creeps into your mind like a slow poison. You start to second-guess the very clear instructions heaven gave you when you were completely alone with God. This is not just human misunderstanding happening to you. This is coordinated spiritual warfare designed to break your resolve. The enemy uses the mouths of familiar people to deliver his most lethal blows. He knows you can block an attack from a stranger, but a subtle insult from someone you love will slip right past your defenses and strike your heart directly. Holding the line takes an unbelievable amount of strength. You are fighting a battle in the invisible realm while trying to function in the natural world. It is no wonder you feel completely depleted by noon. Your physical body is reacting to the intense spiritual friction surrounding you every single day. The fatigue you feel goes far deeper than just needing a nap, but heaven has documented every single moment of your endurance. I need you to hear this truth right now. Your silent suffering has not gone unnoticed by the universe. When they mocked your faith, heaven applauded your incredible stamina. You did not break under the immense pressure of their constant judgment. You kept your faith intact when no one else believed. But let me reframe your entire reality right now. That isolation you have been calling a bitter punishment was never a punishment at all. It was always preparation for your next profound level. God did not remove the crowd because he wanted to abandon you in the dark. He removed them so he could finally speak to you without earthly interference. The universe cleared the room deliberately. When heaven has a massive assignment for your life, it cannot leave you in noisy places. The loud voices of other people will always drown out the specific divine instructions you desperately need to hear. So the separation had to happen. It felt like absolute rejection to your human mind, but it was actually supreme spiritual protection shielding your future. The people pulling away were not rejecting you because you did something terribly wrong. They were simply removed because their frequency could not survive where you are going next. You thought God left you completely alone in the dark, but he was actually drawing you closer into his private chambers for a specific reason. The darkness was not a tomb designed to bury you. It was a womb designed to birth your highest identity. Heaven needed to see exactly what you would do when absolutely no one was watching your daily life, and they needed to know if your obedience was genuine. Would you keep your faith steady when there was no audience around? This is the ultimate test of every single chosen one. Anyone can praise God when the sun is shining and the bank account is completely full. Anyone can shout hallelujah when surrounded by a very supportive crowd cheering them on. But true spiritual authority is only forged in the quiet and lonely valleys of life, where you must fight your battles without any applause or recognition from the world. You kept doing the right thing when it offered zero visible rewards. You held the line in total obscurity. Heaven was carefully evaluating your heart during every single one of those long, silent nights, when you cried yourself to sleep but still woke up, choosing to trust the process. That was heaven measuring your capacity for the heavy mantle you are about to carry. You proved your worth. You showed that your devotion is not conditional or dependent on cheap worldly validation. Your isolation is not evidence of your disqualification. It is absolute evidence of your high-level selection. The period of hidden evaluation is finally coming to an end. You passed the rigorous test of the wilderness when you absolutely refused to grow bitter against the world. You chose forgiveness when you had every single right to demand vicious revenge. You kept your heart remarkably soft in a harsh environment designed to turn it into stone, proving to the universe that your spirit cannot be easily corrupted by pain. That is why the enemy is so utterly terrified of your potential right now. Stop looking at your empty room as a painful sign of divine rejection. Look at it as a beautifully cleared stage waiting for the main event to begin. God intentionally stripped away the worldly distractions so you could safely handle the immense weight of his coming glory. He hid you away safely in his private quiver, just like a highly polished arrow. Arrows are kept in the dark until the exact moment they need to be fired into the light. You are not stuck in a permanent state of lonely exile. You are simply waiting patiently in the divine antechamber before your name is finally called out loud. Every tear you shed in private has been collected and counted as precious spiritual currency, ensuring that nothing you endured during this brutal season was ever wasted or overlooked. It was all meticulously designed for your benefit. This season built the exact spiritual muscles you need to carry your upcoming reward today. The uncomfortable silence was absolutely necessary so you could finally learn the sound of your own true voice. Now that you know exactly who you are without them, you are truly unstoppable. But this concept goes much deeper than just a simple emotional shift in your personal perspective. There is a profound historical pattern to this specific kind of divine isolation. And once that powerful ancient truth clicks into place, everything about your journey will suddenly make perfect sense. God always asks his chosen ones to build before the evidence arrives. Think deeply about the ancient story of Noah. He was commanded to construct a massive ship on completely dry land. There was no cloud in the sky, and the people around him thought his ridiculous project was a total waste of time. They watched him work and called him a fool. They laughed at him every single day. He spent decades working on a heavy structure that made absolutely no sense to the logical mind. And while the entire town mocked his strange behavior, he just kept hammering the heavy wood with a quiet and unwavering determination. He did not stop to defend himself. He let his faithful actions speak much louder than their empty words. He kept building when his own arms were physically exhausted. He held the line when the hot sky remained perfectly blue. This is exactly what you have been doing in your own private life right now. You are building a spiritual ark in the middle of a massive drought, laying down a firm foundation for something the world has not even seen yet. Heaven handed you a specific blueprint that nobody else can see. You are investing your precious time and energy into a vision that feels totally crazy to outsiders. Your friends and family look at your unconventional choices with extreme confusion. But you are not losing your mind, because you are simply being obedient to a much higher frequency that they cannot hear. Noah did not need the dark rain to validate his divine assignment. He did not require the loud applause of his neighbors to continue his heavy daily labor. He recognized the voice of God, and because he trusted that gentle voice above the noise of the crowd, his ridiculous project became the very thing that eventually saved his life. When the first heavy drop of rain finally fell from the sky, the mocking stopped instantly. The arrogant people who laughed at his blind faith were suddenly begging for a way inside the ship. Your personal season of vindication will look exactly like that sudden moment. The mighty flood of your long-awaited breakthrough is already gathering in the dark clouds above your head right now. But the ark must be fully finished before the heavy rain starts falling. You cannot wait for the visible evidence to start doing the necessary hard work. God requires your complete blind faith in this exact moment. He needs you to keep hammering the heavy wood while the ground beneath your feet is still completely dry and barren. Your preparation is vital. Every single time you forgive a betrayal, you are building your ark. Every time you refuse to compromise your pure standards, another solid plank is safely secured. The enemy desperately wants you to drop your heavy tools today. He wants you to stare at the dry sky and give up on your assignment completely, walking away from the reward heaven prepared. Do not let the quiet silence of the sky deceive your spirit. The atmosphere is already shifting with the massive promise of rain. You must endure the strange looks and the painful isolation just a little bit longer. Your silent obedience in the dark is creating a magnificent vessel of deliverance, and it will safely carry you into your next powerful chapter. You are not the misunderstood one. You are the chosen one. You are actively constructing a beautiful legacy that will easily outlast the small-minded people who currently doubt you, proving that your silent obedience was never a waste of time. The pure faith you kept when absolutely no one watched is the exact weapon heaven will use to elevate you. Keep building your ark in the quiet silence. But let us go even deeper into the spiritual mechanics of what is actually happening to you. You need to understand the exact reason why your inner circle suddenly started shrinking. It is not because you suddenly became a bad person, and it is certainly not because you forgot how to be a deeply loving friend to them. Your internal spiritual frequency simply shifted without warning. Every human being on this earth operates on a very specific vibrational frequency. For many years you walked around broadcasting on the exact same wavelength as the people around you. You laughed at the same jokes and worried about the same trivial problems. You fit perfectly into their comfortable little box because you were playing their familiar song. But then a massive divine intervention changed everything. God began to gently retune your internal receiver while you were not even paying attention. He started downloading much higher revelations into your spirit while you were sleeping at night. You woke up one day, and the old conversations suddenly felt incredibly shallow and exhausting. You tried to sit at the same tables, but the energy felt completely wrong to your soul. You were changing rapidly from the inside out. They noticed the massive shift before you even had the right words to explain it. They could feel that your spiritual frequency was vibrating at a much higher level than theirs. And fragile people are always deeply intimidated by the quiet strength they cannot understand or control. They did not pull away because they hated you or wanted to hurt your feelings. They pulled away because your new brilliant light exposed their very comfortable darkness. This is exactly why you feel like you are speaking a foreign language sometimes. You try to share your big dreams and they look at you with total blank stares. You calmly explain your spiritual boundaries and they immediately call you arrogant or overly sensitive. But I promise you are not too sensitive. You were simply built for a totally different frequency that they cannot hear. Imagine a radio dial turning slowly away from a local static station toward a clear global broadcast. The people you left behind are still desperately trying to tune into your old dead frequency. They want the old version of you that was very easy to manipulate and control, but that specific version of you does not exist in this world anymore. That low station has been permanently disconnected by God. You have been mourning the painful loss of relationships that heaven intentionally disrupted for your protection. You keep trying to drag people into a brilliant future they are not spiritually equipped to enter. You must stop apologizing for the massive spiritual upgrade God gave you during your long isolation. Your personal growth is not an insult to their stagnation. It is a sacred divine calling on your life. When a caterpillar turns into a beautiful butterfly, it does not apologize to the crawling insects on the ground. It simply opens its wings and accepts the vast sky as its new permanent home. You are currently standing right between two very different identities in this exact moment. The old you is rapidly dissolving into the past, while the chosen you is stepping fully into the light. Your heightened sensitivity is actually a powerful radar designed to protect your peace. The depth they constantly call too much is the exact thing that gives your spirit the massive authority to shift atmospheres. When you walk into a room, you bring a heavy dose of divine truth with you. People who are hiding dark secrets will naturally feel deeply uncomfortable in your pure presence. They will project their own massive insecurities onto you just to make themselves feel better. They will desperately try to convince you that your high standards are just signs of terrible arrogance. Do not let their loud confusion make you doubt your own quiet spiritual clarity. You are carrying a heavy mantle that requires a very specific atmosphere to survive and thrive. The universe had to clear the room so you could finally breathe. You are actively becoming a master of your own sacred frequency every single day. And once you truly realize the immense power you hold in your quiet presence, their petty rejections will feel like absolute blessings to your soul. But there is another crucial layer to this process that you need to fully grasp. Because what heaven is quietly doing beneath the surface is even more remarkable. You feel like you have been completely buried alive. The heavy dirt was thrown over you by the people you trusted most. The thick darkness around your spirit feels absolutely suffocating. You scream for help, but no one hears your muffled voice. You think the story is completely over for you. But heaven sees this exact painful moment entirely differently than your fragile human eyes can perceive right now. You were never buried by the cruel universe. You were carefully planted by the loving hand of God. There is a massive difference between a grave and a garden. A grave is where dead things go to decay and disappear forever. But a garden is where living things are intentionally placed to undergo a miraculous transformation in the dark. The enemy wanted you to believe this dirt was your final resting place. But the dark soil is strictly required for your future growth. Every seed must sit in the pitch-black dirt before it can see the sun. The heavy soil provides the intense pressure needed to crack the hard outer shell. Your current isolation is exactly that necessary heavy pressure. The painful loneliness you feel is simply the brittle outer shell of your old identity breaking wide apart to release your true power. Before a massive tree can grow tall, it must first grow deep. The roots have to push through the hard dirt in complete silence. Nobody applauds the deep roots because nobody can actually see them working underground. The superficial world only praises the beautiful branches and the green leaves. But without the unseen work of those hidden roots, the entire tree would simply collapse in the first strong wind. You are establishing your root system right now. Every time you forgive someone who hurt you deeply, a strong root pushes into the soil. Every time you pray when you feel totally empty, your foundation grows stronger. God is making sure your spiritual roots can actually support the massive blessing He is about to place on your branches. He refuses to let you collapse under the weight of glory. Shallow people grow fast because they have absolutely no internal depth. They shoot up overnight like cheap weeds and demand validation from the loud crowd. But when the severe storms of life inevitably arrive, they are quickly torn right out of the ground. Heaven loves you way too much to let you become a shallow, temporary weed. God is patiently building a magnificent oak tree out of your completely isolated life. This spiritual process of rooting requires absolute stillness. You cannot be surrounded by chaotic noise while you try to anchor your soul. The darkness is protecting your fragile new growth from premature exposure to the harsh elements. The people who walked away were simply removed from your private garden because they were never meant to witness the messy reality of your beautiful transformation. You must trust the quiet work happening beneath the surface today. You look at your life and see absolutely nothing happening above the ground. You feel like a failure because you cannot show anyone the visible results of your hard labor. But the most important work of your entire life is happening in a place where no human eyes can judge it. The heavy, lonely soil is actually your safest incubator. Soon the green shoot will finally break through the heavy dirt. The very same dirt that tried to crush you will become the firm foundation that supports your massive height. Your season of hidden preparation is quietly coming to a beautiful end. The blind faith you kept when no one watched is the exact mechanism pulling living water from the deep earth. You are absorbing everything you need for the next season. But there is a very specific cosmic purpose behind this hidden phase. The universe did not just hide you to protect your fragile roots from the wind. Heaven isolated you because the specific massive reward coming your way cannot be shared with the people who constantly doubted your calling. And once you understand why the audience had to be removed, your entire perspective on this journey will shift forever. You finally understand the heavy soil protecting your roots, but there is a deeper cosmic purpose you must see today. God intentionally kept people from believing your grand vision. This was never a cruel joke meant to break you. Heaven knew exactly what would happen if the loud crowd supported your journey while you were still trying to figure out the blueprint. If they had helped you build the foundation, they would absolutely demand the glory. They would stand proudly next to you and claim they were the secret to your success. Human nature loves to take credit for massive divine miracles. God looked deeply at the fragile egos surrounding your life and decided to completely remove them from your personal equation so your victory remains pure. They would constantly remind you that you owe them your life. And every single time you achieved something great, they would confidently demand their heavy percentage. The universe refuses to let anyone hold a permanent debt over your precious head. You had to walk through the fire completely alone. That solitary walk ensures that the magnificent crown belongs only to you. Your massive cosmic reward cannot be divided into tiny little pieces. Heaven simply does not share its beautiful glory with small-minded critics who only decided to show up at the very end of the race. You carried the immense weight when the sky was dark. You pushed bravely through the terrifying silence of the night while everyone else around you decided to go back to their comfortable and safe beds. This is why the rejection actually hurts so much right now. You wanted them to celebrate the tiny victories with you. You desperately wanted just one familiar face to hold your hand and tell you that everything was going to be perfectly fine in the end. But their absence was the ultimate cosmic shield protecting your inheritance. Nobody can say they made you who you are today. People absolutely love to attach themselves to a successful winning team. They want the shiny gold medal without running the exhausting marathon in the terrible heat. But absolutely nobody wants to stand beside you in the deep, muddy trench when the heavy spiritual bullets are flying directly over your tired head. God saw their hidden intentions long before you ever saw their true faces. He allowed them to walk away so they could not steal your joy. He purposefully let them doubt your profound calling so they would have absolutely zero legal right to claim any part of your massive future harvest. The pain of their departure was a very small price to pay for your absolute freedom. You are stepping into a massive season of undeniable and total independence. When the universe decides to prepare a massive banquet table for you, it is always placed directly in the presence of your harsh enemies. Those who mocked your quiet faith will eventually have to watch you eat the abundant feast. They will realize too late that they abandoned the most loyal friend they ever had. But the empty chairs at your table are not a tragedy anymore. Those empty chairs represent the heavy compromises you completely refused to make. You intentionally kept your spirit incredibly pure and focused, even when the entire world around you desperately tried to drag you down into the dirty mud. God honors that rare level of solitary devotion with an unprecedented outpouring of favor. Your absolute refusal to quit is the key that finally unlocks the heavy iron door. The universe is about to show everyone exactly why you had to be isolated. The reward belongs to you, and nobody can ever take it away. Some messages do not merely inform your logical mind, but they actively shift the heavy spiritual atmosphere surrounding your life the moment you hear them. Share this with someone who has been isolated for doing the right thing, because understanding this cosmic truth changes absolutely everything. Look at the ancient story of Joseph right now. He was given a massive dream by heaven when he was young, but his own brothers completely hated his beautiful coat. They threw him into a dark pit because his divine vision offended their ordinary minds. You know exactly how that deep betrayal feels. You shared your pure dream and they threw you away. The pit was only the very beginning of his terrible isolation. He was eventually thrown into a cold dungeon for doing the right thing. He spent lonely years sitting in the total darkness. He helped other prisoners escape their heavy chains, but they immediately forgot about him when they finally saw the bright sun. You have also poured water into empty cups just to be forgotten. But Joseph did something incredibly powerful in that lonely prison. He absolutely refused to let the heavy chains corrupt his pure spirit. He did not plot wicked revenge against the people who hurt him deeply. He just kept his faith steady while the cold walls closed in around him, and he served with absolute excellence when nobody was watching him at all. That dark dungeon was never a cruel punishment from a distant god. It was a rigorous training ground designed for a future king. Heaven was actively teaching him how to govern massive systems while he was locked away in the quiet shadows. God needed to ensure his character was fully ready to handle immense global power, because true authority without a pure heart will completely destroy a human soul. If Joseph had gone straight from his childhood dream to the heavy throne, he would have failed miserably. He desperately needed the severe isolation to strip away his youthful pride. The dark prison taught him how to hear the specific voice of heaven with total clarity. The quiet silence prepared his ears for the heavy demands of true leadership. This is exactly what heaven is currently doing inside your own life. You feel like you are trapped in a completely forgotten dungeon right now. You watch other people walk out into the bright light, while you are painfully left behind in the cold dark. But God has not forgotten your address. He is simply finishing the intense leadership training your assignment requires. The skills you are learning in the dark are entirely mandatory. You are learning radical forgiveness while people constantly lie about your character. You are learning pure patience while the heavy silence deafens your tired ears. These are the exact spiritual tools you will desperately need, and they will protect your mind when heaven finally elevates you to your rightful position. When the Pharaoh finally had a dream that nobody could understand, Joseph was immediately pulled right out of the dark prison. His brutal season of isolation ended in a single afternoon. He went from a forgotten prisoner to a powerful ruler before the sun went down. Your massive breakthrough will happen with that exact same shocking speed. God is just waiting for the absolute perfect hour to call your name. Do not let the cold walls of your current season break your spirit. The heavy chains are only temporary instruments of divine preparation. You are being meticulously trained to rule over the exact territories that currently bring you deep pain. Your silent obedience in the dark is creating a massive spiritual authority, and the ordinary world will never be able to comprehend the depth of your power. You must completely trust the architect of your difficult journey today. Joseph could not see the beautiful palace while he was staring at the ugly prison walls. He only had the gentle whisper of God to keep his tired mind sane. You only have that same quiet whisper right now. Hold on to it tightly, because it is the only truth that actually matters in the dark. The dungeon is absolute proof of your high-level selection, but there is an even deeper level of intense preparation happening to you right now. Because heaven does not just leave you in the dark soil to grow your deep roots. God also places his chosen ones directly into a roaring fire, because the extreme heat is required to burn away every single earthly impurity. You have survived the heavy soil, You have endured the dark prison. But heaven has one more intense environment for its chosen ones. God places his most precious metal directly into a blazing fire, and the crucible is specifically built to burn away everything that is not pure gold. The intense heat is completely intentional. The flames feel absolutely unbearable sometimes. You feel like your spirit is melting under the extreme temperatures of this season. You cry out for water. You beg for just a moment of cool relief. But the master blacksmith keeps the fire burning incredibly hot because he knows exactly what type of weapon he is forging. Raw ore looks completely ordinary when it leaves the dirt. It is mixed with cheap rocks and useless debris. If the blacksmith strikes it now, the blade will shatter instantly. Heaven refuses to let you shatter in battle, so God is aggressively removing your hidden impurities through the painful fire. He is making your spirit entirely unbreakable. Look closely at what is burning away right now. Your desperate need for human validation is turning into ash. Your fear of loud opinions is melting completely away in the intense heat. God is burning off your people-pleasing habits, and he is completely destroying your lifelong tendency to play small so you can finally lead. What remains in the crucible is nothing but pure and unyielding strength. Once the metal is glowing bright red, the heavy hammer finally falls. You feel the crushing blows of life hitting you repeatedly. You wonder why the universe keeps striking you when you are already in so much pain. But every single strike of the heavy hammer is folding the steel, and the master blacksmith is actively creating layers of absolute resilience inside your soul. Ordinary iron cannot hold a sharp edge. It bends entirely too easily under pressure. It becomes completely useless when the real warfare actually begins. God is not forging a decorative piece of jewelry to sit on a quiet shelf, but he is forging a devastating sword of truth for the kingdom. The extreme heat is the only way to harden the edge of your pure spirit. Nobody can sit inside the fiery furnace with you. The heat is simply too intense for normal people. This is why your old friends had to walk away. They stepped back because the spiritual temperatures were burning them. You are surviving a fire that would consume anyone else, because God gave you a massive capacity to endure the flames while others ran away. When the painful shaping is finally finished, the blazing hot metal is plunged into cool water. That sudden shock creates the final temper of the blade. You are approaching the cooling waters right now. The season of intense burning is almost completely over, and you are about to step out of the heavy forge as a masterpiece of divine engineering. The sensitivity they mocked is now a sharp weapon. Your quietness is a massive shield of discernment. You have been forged beautifully in the dark. The enemy is absolutely terrified right now, and he watches in total horror as the master blacksmith finally pulls your hardened spirit from the hot fire. He knows exactly what a fully tempered chosen one can do to his dark kingdom. Do not curse the painful flames today. The fire did not come to destroy your future. It came to permanently destroy your weakness. You are standing in the final moments of the intense heat, and the master is finally admiring the brilliant reflection of his own face inside your pure gold. But there is one final thing blocking your complete release. The external enemies have already been defeated by the fire. The false friends have been completely burned away from your path. You are shining with incredible divine authority right now. Yet the hardest battle is not against the physical people who left you in the dark, because the most dangerous warfare always takes place inside your own head. The absolute final battle happens entirely inside your own mind. You have looked everywhere for the enemy outside of your own life. You blamed the people who simply walked away from you. You blamed the harsh and incredibly unfair circumstances. But here is the part nobody really wants to hear today. And I say this to you with absolute unconditional love. The thing quietly blocking your massive breakthrough is not a loud demon or a toxic person from your past. It is your own lingering self-doubt. This is not an accusation against your beautiful spirit. This is a spiritual diagnosis meant to finally set you completely free. You have been quietly terrified of your own immense power, and you constantly dim your bright light because you desperately want to keep other fragile people perfectly comfortable. You apologize for the massive divine gifts heaven placed directly into your hands. You shrink down to fit into ordinary rooms you have already completely outgrown. The enemy knows he cannot stop the beautiful plan God has for your life. He knows the intense fire did not burn you to ashes. He knows the heavy dirt did not crush your deep roots. So he completely changed his entire strategy today. If he cannot destroy you from the outside, he will desperately try to paralyze you from the inside. He whispers tiny lies into your ear when you are exhausted. He tells you that you are entirely unqualified for the heavy mission. You listen to those quiet lies because they sound exactly like your own voice, and you look at your painful past while assuming God made a massive mistake choosing you. You think your old mistakes somehow disqualify you from holding the heavy mantle. But heaven does not call the fully equipped and the perfectly flawless people. God intentionally equips the broken ones who simply say yes to his gentle voice. Your self-doubt is the ultimate insult to the divine master blacksmith. When you doubt your own immense strength, you are actually doubting the powerful hands that beautifully forged you in the dark fire. You are telling the universe that the long, painful preparation was a complete waste of time. You must stop agreeing with the limitation the world placed heavily upon you. You are not a weak imposter pretending to be strong. You are a highly trained spiritual warrior ready for battle. The moment you finally realize who you truly are, the enemy loses all his remaining power over your mind. He can only hold you completely hostage as long as you silently agree with his quiet lies. Today is the exact day you officially break that toxic agreement forever. You cannot step into your massive promised land while carrying the heavy mental chains of a terrified slave. You must drop the heavy doubt right here and right now. You have survived absolutely everything the universe threw at your fragile heart. You passed the severe tests in the dark, lonely wilderness. You held your pure faith when absolutely no one was watching your falling tears. Now you must simply pass the final test of entirely believing in your own calling. Heaven already sees you as a magnificent and powerful leader, but you are still looking in the mirror and seeing a helpless victim. That terrible false identity permanently ends today. The heavy spiritual block inside your mind is currently crumbling into fine dust. I am going to ask you to do something incredibly powerful in just a moment. We are going to cross the final spiritual threshold together right now, and you are going to actively release the heavy burden of your own doubt to claim your rightful place. Prepare your beautiful heart for the ultimate shift. This is your magnificent moment. You have walked bravely through the burning fire, and you survived the heavy dark soil that desperately tried to crush your roots. Now you are standing at the absolute edge of your massive breakthrough. I need you to stop whatever you are doing right now. Find a quiet place to stand completely still. We are about to seal everything heaven just spoke over your tired life today. Place your right hand firmly over your beating heart. Feel the steady rhythm pumping inside your tired chest today. That persistent heartbeat is absolute proof that you survived the terrible spiritual warfare. Close your eyes and take a very deep breath. You are going to speak these powerful words completely out loud, because your own ears desperately need to hear the magnificent sound of your true voice again. Declare this with me right now. I completely release the painful need to be understood by everyone. I release every toxic agreement I ever made with my own smallness. I will no longer apologize for the heavy mantle heaven placed on my shoulders. I completely let go of the deep pain caused by the fragile people who walked away from my lonely path, and I forgive them for not understanding my calling. I boldly declare that my intense isolation was preparation and not a bitter punishment. God did not abandon me in the dark and lonely wilderness. He carefully protected me from the loud noise of ordinary people, ensuring my spirit remained pure for this exact assignment. The terrible fire did not destroy my bright future. It beautifully destroyed my hidden weakness. I am entirely ready to handle the immense weight of glory. I step fully into my sacred assignment today. I am absolutely not the misunderstood victim of my painful circumstances. I am the chosen one. The profound sensitivity they constantly mocked is my greatest spiritual weapon. I fully embrace the exact frequency heaven designed for my life, and I do not need any human permission to take my rightful place right now. My massive breakthrough is not slowly coming toward me someday. It is already here in this exact moment. The heavy spiritual door is standing wide open. The long, brutal season of silent weeping is permanently over. I accept the total vindication that God has prepared for my patient spirit. Everything I lost in the dark fire is being fully restored to me, and heaven is pouring out blessings that I cannot even begin to measure. Take another deep breath and let those powerful words settle deeply into your soul. You just broke the final heavy chain holding your mind back. The entire universe heard your loud and confident declaration, and heaven is already moving rapidly on your behalf to secure your borders. The divine compensation for your silent tears has officially begun. God is sending the exact resources you need today, while blocking any spiritual attack meant to distract you. You will wake up tomorrow morning feeling completely different. The crushing weight you carried for years is permanently gone. You are actively walking into a beautiful season of rapid and undeniable acceleration. Opportunities that felt completely impossible yesterday will suddenly chase you down today. The people who rejected you will watch in total awe as heaven drastically elevates your entire life. But their loud opinions will not matter to your peaceful spirit anymore. Do not look back at the empty rooms you left behind. You absolutely do not belong in those small places anymore. Your new table is currently being prepared directly in the presence of your harsh enemies. The divine feast is absolutely magnificent. You kept your pure faith when absolutely no one believed in your crazy vision, and now you get to proudly wear the heavy crown. Your exhausted heart is finally at total peace. You are no longer fighting invisible battles in the dark alone. The brutal war for your pure identity has been completely and permanently won. You can finally rest your tired shoulders. God is fighting your remaining battles while you peacefully step into the bright light, because you are exactly where you are supposed to be right now. The heavy storm has officially passed. You can finally breathe a deep sigh of relief today. The brutal season of testing is completely over for your tired spirit. The profound peace you feel in your chest right now is entirely real. It is the solid evidence that heaven has permanently sealed your glorious new chapter. You can never go back to the old version of yourself. That broken identity was completely burned away in the hot fire. If you try to fit into those tiny old spaces again, your spirit will immediately reject them. The massive transformation you just experienced is entirely irreversible. God has locked the heavy door permanently behind you. When the enemy tries to return tomorrow, he will find an empty house. He will look for the fragile person he used to torment in the dark, but he will only find a hardened spiritual warrior standing guard at the gate. He has absolutely no legal right to touch your peaceful mind anymore. Your sacred borders are completely secured by heaven today. The people who abandoned you will eventually notice the massive shift. They will see the bright light radiating from your peaceful life, but they will not be able to access your sacred energy anymore, because heaven has placed a heavy, invisible shield directly around your heart. Your pure frequency is strictly reserved for the right people now. You do not have to fight for your worth ever again. You do not have to prove your divine calling to anyone who refuses to listen. Your only job now is to simply walk forward in total confidence. Heaven is actively preparing the exact connections you need for the next magnificent phase. You are stepping into a season of effortless abundance. You are no longer wandering alone in the dark wilderness. You have finally found your true spiritual tribe today. There are thousands of chosen ones listening to this exact message right now. and they are standing right beside you in the spirit. We are actively building a massive army of pure light together. The isolation is permanently broken. I want you to physically seal this massive spiritual shift right now. Type the word Amen in the comments below if you completely receive this message. Let your simple action be a permanent marker of your new beginning. When you declare your faith publicly, you send a powerful shockwave directly into the dark spiritual realm. There is someone else out there who is crying in the dark tonight. They feel exactly like you felt before you heard these words. I need you to share this message with someone who has been called too sensitive and too quiet. You might be the exact lifeline that heaven uses to pull them out of their deep depression today. Subscribe to this channel and turn on all your notifications right now. You need to stay deeply connected to this pure frequency. The world will constantly try to pull you back into the heavy noise, but I will keep delivering the exact revelations you need to stay on your divine path. We will walk through this beautiful journey entirely together. Your glorious new assignment officially begins today. Rest your tired mind tonight and sleep with absolute peace in your heart. You are a chosen vessel of the Most High God. You are incredibly loved, and you are fiercely protected. Walk proudly into your brilliant future, because your massive breakthrough is already here. I will see you very soon.